Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition, another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. My name is Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and I've come back to talk to you. Yes, I know some of you will be saying, Mash, where have you been? Where's Santoki been for that matter? We've taken a bit of a hiatus since the India series. We've put out some sporadic videos. Most of our content that we've done is on Twitter, etc. But with a week to go until CPL is over, we've both been writing match reports for that tournament. But with a week to go, it seems right that we should start to do some of the conclusions on the tournament. We're going to do a big episode about the end of CPL and so on and so forth. But I wanted to touch on something for this one. I wanted to touch on the emerging players. I wanted to touch on what I call the what is being done to actually develop players in T20 cricket within the region. Yes, I know some of you will immediately say, but Mash, they go and play all these tournaments and da-da-da. I'm talking about the next generation. Some of you will say, oh, but Mash, they go play minor league cricket in the United States. I'm talking about the next generation in our own backyard. When I say our own backyard, I mean the Caribbean. I mean our own T20 tournament in the Caribbean. I mean the Caribbean Premier League. What are we doing within the confines of the Caribbean Premier League to develop our next generation of cricketers? I judge Machel St. Patrick Hewitt for the benefit of this show only. I will call myself a judge. I would venture to say we're not doing jack all. We're not doing jack all. We're pretending we are. We're saying we are, but we ain't doing shit. And the thing is, sorry, let me turn this fan off, people. The thing is, some people are going to watch this episode and you're going to get in your feelings. You're going to get emotional about this one. And I always remember what I said for the last episode that I did on Andre Russell. F your feelings. F your feelings and focus on the facts and focus on what we can actually see in front of our eyes. Let's talk about the real hardcore facts. Let's not get emotional about this one. Let's look at the statistics. Now, for those of you who don't know how CPL works, right? CPL has an emerging players rule. In fact, let me bring it up on the screen. CPL has the Lasco food drink emerging players. You know how everything has a sponsor in CPL. The Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League has the Lasco food drink emerging players deal or whatever it is, right? Now, the rules say to all of these CPL sides that over the course of the tournament, they must play their emerging players for a total of 5 games in the tournament, whether that's group stage games or whether that's all the way through to the eliminator, qualifier 1, qualifier 2, or the final itself. Whatever happens, the emerging players must play 5 games. And that's not 5 games each. That's 5 games in total between the two players. Now, this thing has always been championed as, you see, CPL is really trying to help West Indies develop players. But I would argue no, I'm not buying it. I'm really not buying it. Let me make this bigger for people, right? West Indies have fallen behind the 8 ball in Test cricket. We know this. West Indies have fallen behind the 8 ball in ODI cricket. We know this. We're 2 times T20 champions, 2012, 2016, and we've fallen behind the 8 ball in T20 cricket. Yes, everyone will say, but Mash, we beat India, we beat South Africa this year, but we crashed out of the 2021 T20 World Cup. We crashed out even before the main stage in the 2022 T20 World Cup. And we have a home World Cup coming up in about 8 months, right? Or 9 months. And I'm looking at CPL this year and I'm just thinking, we ain't doing anything to develop younger players. Now, CPL, let me defend them slightly, are a private entity. They do not owe Cricket West Indies anything. They can talk about, and Pete Russell often says it, and I've heard Johnny Graves say it. I don't know if Dr. Kishore Shallow thinks the same, because obviously he's new as president. We've heard a lot over the last few years that, oh, we've got a much better relationship and we're trying to both work together to mutually benefit each other and so on and so forth. And we saw elements of that last year with the creation of the 60. And there was a lot of press put out about how the 60 would boost Cricket West Indies coffers, and that Cricket West Indies had a stake in the 60, and it would be a financial benefit to the wider development of cricket within the region. Hear all that. But we ain't seen no 60 this year. Where is the 60, by the way? Anyone know where the 60's gone? I don't know. But we ain't seeing that this year. We've always been told that the emerging players rule in CPL is for the wider benefit of West Indies cricket. But I'm here to challenge that. I'm here to challenge that and say, what wider benefit? Now, let's look at this year's Lasco food drink emerging players as an example. On the screen, what you can see right now is, in fact, I'm going to take myself off the screen so you can see the whole thing. On the screen, what you can see right now are the 12 players who are considered to be emerging players in this year's CPL. For the Kings, Kamani Melius and McKenny Clark. For the Talawars, Kurt McKenzie, West Indies International, and Joshua James. For the Barbados Royals, Rivaldo Clark, Ramon Simmons. For the Knight Riders, Kadima Lane and Jaden Carmichael. For the Patriots, Ashmead Ned and Johan Lane. And for the Amazon Warriors, Matthew Nandu and Junior Sinclair. Now, again, before I continue, these franchises would say, particularly if we just look at the Kings, the Royals and the Knight Riders, they're owned by IPL franchise owners. They would disagree. And if any of you are listening to this, I'm fairly certain you're going to say I'm talking shit. You would say, we're trying to benefit West Indies cricket. I would say that's not your priority. Your priority is winning these tournaments and increasing your brand relevance around the world. If it so happens that West Indies cricket happens to benefit because one youth develops, yeah, you'll say that you did your bit, but you ain't interested in that shit. Let's all be honest. You ain't interested in that. The owners of the Talawars, Warriors, and Patriots, who are yet to be taken over by an IPL franchise, I would argue you, man, ain't interested in that either. I would argue that these private entities just want to win. They want to improve their brand. They want to make peas. I would venture to say that developing youths in the region isn't their priority. And does it have to be? No. But then I'm saying, what's the point of CPL then? When people think about CPL, you speak to a random punter somewhere out of the Caribbean and you say to them, who do you want to watch in CPL? Yeah, they might say Nicholas Pooran. Yeah, they might say Shimron Hetmeyer. But they're more likely to say Kyron Pollard, Andre Russell, Sunil Narayan, and even 39-year-old DJ Bravo. Now, I know those four all play for the same team, the Trimbayo Knight Riders. But my point is this, and I think I said it in a previous video. Those four, Pollard 36, Russell 35, Narayan 35, Bravo 39, they're all due to either retire this year or within the next 3 years. I say to CPL and I say to those who are fans of CPL, who are you building the tournament around after they're gone? After the former GOATs have gone, who are we building this tournament around? Yes, a Pooran, but how many man have we got left, Caribbean man, have we got left to build this tournament around? You'll have to start. Bear in mind, Major League Cricket has just started up and they're getting this man, they're getting that man. They're looking like they're bigger than CPL after one season. They're looking like they've got a bigger reach and a bigger pull than CPL after one season. They got bare IPL man in their thing as well in terms of owners. Who are CPL planning to build their tournament around going forward when the GOAT generation retire? And my thing is this, you might not have anyone because you ain't done enough to develop the youths. You have a Lasco food drink emerging players rule, but who's really come through it? Who's come through it to be a global superstar? Let's look at this year. Let's go team by team. Bear in mind, people, I told you about what the rule of the competition is. They're supposed to play 5 times. Let's start with the St. Lucia Kings. St. Lucia Kings, McKenny Clark has played 3 matches in the tournament out of 10. From a possible 12 overs that he could have bowled, he's bowled 5. Kamani Melius has played 1 game he did not bat in it. That's the first two developing players, people. Let's move to the Talawars. Now, you could say with the Talawars, they've done the most because Kurt McKenzie has played 7 of the Jamaica Talawars 10 games, more than any other emerging player on that list. So you could say, oh, the Talawars have embraced it. They're trying to develop the youths. I mean, Kurt McKenzie, after all, is a West Indies international, a Test international. So is he really a youth? Is he really being developed? Or are you picking him because he's now a West Indies Test international? Does it count? I'll give you the belie. He's played 7 games. He hasn't been any good, by the way. Joshua James has played 0 games. 0 to blood anyways. Barbados Royals, Rivaldo Clark has played 4 games and batted once. Ramon Simmons, 0 games. Let's go to the Knight Riders. Kadima Lane has played 4 games, batted twice. He's bowled a total of 0.2 overs. Jaden Carmichael has played 3 games. From a available allocation of 12 overs, he's bowled 5. Let's move to the Patriots. Ashmead Ned, who's probably been the best performing Lasco food drink emerging player, has played 3 games out of 10. He bowled 11 out of a possible 12 overs. So the Patriots used him to his full capacity in the 3 games that he played. Check this now. Ned got 5 wickets at 15, economy 6.81. So he was actually one of the best performing wicket takers in a piss poor St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots side. He only played 3 games. So what? Let me not talk. If I talk, I will be in big trouble. Johan Lane, one of the up-and-coming pacers in the region, 2 games. From a possible 8 overs that he could have bowled, he bowled 3. Guyana Amazon Warriors, Matthew Nandu, 2 games. Junior Sinclair, 4 games. And Junior Sinclair's been good. He's taken 3 wickets at 14 apiece, economy 5.85. But check this. From a possible 12 overs that Junior Sinclair could have bowled, he's bowled 7. I hope when I was explaining all that, somebody was writing it down with a piece of pen, got a pen and a piece of paper and started writing all that down. Rewind the video and watch it back and take the notes down. And when you do, you'll notice a very obvious trend. None of these teams ain't developing anyone. They're just doing what I call paint by numbers. And do you know what some of these teams have done? They've only played these men because they have to, not because they want to. So how are these youths going to develop then? How are these youths going to develop if the attitude of the franchises, the large majority of them is, I've got to play you for a total of 5 games. So let me just dash you in quickly right now because I have to. Knight Riders played a game against Amazon Warriors earlier this week. Was it Friday? Kadima Lane played. And who's the other youth? I think Carmichael played. Because they probably had to. Not because Knight Riders necessarily would have wanted to. I mean, they rested bare man. But they basically gave him a sympathy game as far as I could see. I am not convinced that these teams really care about developing the next generation. And more fool them, more fool CPL, and more fool Cricket West Indies for believing that this is the only tournament that can develop the youths. And the reason why I say more fool CPL is what you gonna do when you need some franchise stars to build your competition around. This is a Caribbean tournament. It's not an overseas tournament. It's a Caribbean tournament. Who are your Caribbean stars? If you're not, listen, if you ignore the wider development of the next generation, you ain't gonna have any future stars. So more fool CPL. And more full Cricket West Indies, because what are we going to do going forward? T20 cricket is the only format of cricket that is growing the game of cricket. It's the only format of cricket that will see something that looks like an even playing field at the international level. When we got clapped up by Ireland and Scotland in the last T20 World Cup, that wasn't a fluke. That's because T20 is growing the game around the world. And we ain't growing our own game. We've got a private tournament, which has some benefits. I'm not saying it's all negatives, which has some benefits, but it doesn't have a wider benefit for West Indies cricket. I'm not even trying to dig it out. It's just facts for me. It's facts. It doesn't. It doesn't. The only way you get a wider benefit for West Indies cricket is if you have a Caribbean T20 tournament. We got cool and smooth in Antigua, and as things currently stand, that tournament hasn't expanded across the region. It kind of needs to. And that's primarily a Caribbean-based tournament trying to promote Caribbean talent. We need one. Now, but the problem is, as I understand it, when the deal was signed between CPL and Cricket West Indies, I believe that there was something signed, and I hope I'm wrong, but someone correct me in the comments if I have got it wrong, that we aren't allowed to have a competition, T20 competition, that is essentially competing against CPL. But Kyron Pollard has asked for it. Jason Holder has spoken about it. More and more people in the Caribbean are seeing sense and realizing that if we don't have a tournament that runs under CPL for our Caribbean youths, we ain't going to improve jack shit. So what's the plan, people? What's the plan going forward? Because we can't keep going on like this. We can't. I'd sooner have CPL bun the emerging players rule, because teams aren't taking it seriously. They're doing the bare minimum around it. And if you're not going to bun the rule, change change the kind of qualifications for it. Tell the teams that between the two emerging players, they must play a total of 10 games, which basically means one has to play in every single game in the tournament, minimum. Not 5, all blood 10. All 10. Major League Cricket is on your doorstep. Major League Cricket is doing the absolute most right now to establish itself. You have a direct competition on your doorstep. What are you doing to stand out? What are you going to do to be unique? Your UPS, your unique UPS lies in, or USP, is it? Your unique USP lies in the Caribbean. That means you need to focus on the development of the Caribbean talent. Not everyone's going to agree. Lots of people are going to get in their feelings about this one and say, Mash, you don't understand. No, you don't get it. You don't get it. Okay, cool. Get in the comments below and tell me why I don't get it. Some of the people on TV, you're going to listen to this one and be like, rah, Mash is coming for us. He's saying da-da-da. I'm not even trying to. So if this reaches the ears of Bish, of Ganga, of Nikhil, of Badri, of Alex Jordan, of whoever is in the comms booth, I'm not even coming for you lot. Because you lot have a job to do. You've got to promote CPL. You've got to make it look like everything is rosy. But come on, you man know. And Alex, sorry. You know. Deep down, you know. You're not, none of you are stupid, you know, but I get that you can't say it, which is why the Caribbean Cricket Podcast exists. We can say what others can't necessarily say, because nobody ain't employing us. So I'll say the quiet things that everyone knows but doesn't want to say out in public. How are we developing the youths in the region if we're gonna still essentially promote a private entity that doesn't really have the development of the youths as its concern? We can stick our heads in the sand and keep on going on like we can't see what's obvious in front of us. But when we reach such a point where everybody starts to look around and go, where's the talent gone? Remember this video. Remember this time. I'll be Machel St. Patrick here, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Get at me in the comments below. Like I say, it's a bit of a techie one, this one, because I know it's going to ruffle some feathers. Not everyone's going to agree. If you want to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can do. Sorry, bring myself back on the screen. www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket if you want to support us. Nobody tells us what to say. Nobody Nobody gives us direct sponsorship where we have to promote them. We say what we want to say. We see it, we say it. Like, share, subscribe. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Carib Cricket. Help us on the road to whatever K. I'll be Machel St. Patrick here, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Stay tuned for some more content coming up soon. Got some special guests coming up, so stay locked in. And we'll be back very, very soon.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.